Grand Rising, everyone, and welcome back. It's Shay Seeking, and I'm here with another book share today. I found this book when I was looking for something else, this book here. And then I ran into this one and I found a couple of interesting things here, so I wanted to just share with you guys some of the finds and just let's see if we can find something that's a little bit more interesting than what I thought that I found. So I haven't read it. I tried to do a video right before this and I read the table of contents and stuff like that just to see, you know what, I'll just pull it back up just so you guys can see if this is something that you would be interested in before wasting your time here. I want to thank you guys for stopping by and watching and sharing and all the other good stuff that people have been doing to support the channel. So again, we're just going to be doing a book share here today. And I will more than likely be putting the link to this book in one of the, if there's one or more, in one of the description box of the one of the videos of the so-called series. Okay, so therefore, if you guys would like to hear what I have to say or hear me try and read this, you know, you can stick around. And for those of you that would like to just take the book and run, you can do that too. So um, let's go ahead and go in. So now you see this. I don't want to read it all over again. I want to try to start getting into, see, stuff like this is very interesting to me here. And you know, just a lot of stuff. Okay, and we can't read everything. And I like to be the type of person where if I can't find something or if I'm not able to spend time doing it, I want to pass it on to someone else because it really doesn't matter who's putting the information out. It's about the information being obtained by people so that they can see things and, you know, become aware of some of the things that have been, you know, going on in the past and where we're going or we're heading if we keep letting these people do what they're doing in the future. So, oh, hey, wow. See, now, I knew this looked intriguing. So I really want to get into this here because we're talking about eunuchs. And I'm trying to tell you there's something funny about that Genesis story when it comes to Adam and Eve and cutting that rib. Because if you really go ahead and do a full search on what this rib could have mean, you would be very surprised. And the fact that they were doing things like this back then, you just have to wonder. Because of course you guys know we have our own theory, or I have my own theory on this channel, and we're just going along with the flow of that. And as we're doing that, we're able to find much more information that you could if you just saw things on the other side without digging a little bit deeper. So I really want to get into this, but I'll just read this, what's drawing my attention. The eunuchs of the Sultan explains themselves. The general effects of castration in youth is to arrest the development of the secondary sexual characters. Okay? Popularly speaking, a man becomes more like a woman. But really what happens is he ceases to be more like a man. So when we're talking about in the biblical text, a lot of people are hung up on these things like you're not supposed to be, well, we're all sinning. If you're not supposed to be laying with a, or most of the people that are so-called gay are going directly to hell according to what religion will tell you. When I really think that when we're talking about man should not lie with a woman as a man, they're talking about this. And when I think that they took that rib from Adam and he said, great, it's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and I'll call her Eve because she was taken out of man. And when we're talking about people that you guys might not agree with that are saying that celebrities, especially your A-list celebrities and your ancient Greek goddesses, some of them, and your ancient Greek deities may be androgynous beings or eunuchs or castrated people. Okay, in that way that, you know, they want you to think that a transgender looked a certain way today, or that a what did they used to call him, a he she back in the 80s and 90s, would look something like that, a stubby beard still with a crazy looking wig on most of the time, plus size. And what we're really looking at is there could possibly be a way where a Beyonce could have been a creation of being a eunuch or a androgynous being or a castrated male, and we're talking more along the lines of you can't believe and you can't see it. But again, we're at a day of knowing, and you know good and damn well that there's people on this earth, regular everyday people that don't have millions of dollars, that can be a transgender today and fool the hell out of you with a penis still, even. Okay? Because sometimes they remove the whole thing, sometimes they remove parts of it. I'm not going to get into details about that. You would have to do your own research to see this. Um, and a lot of times they were doing this and they would call these boys castratis or castratos, and they were using them as opera singers or just singers in general. So again, when we talk about Hollywood and we talk about that Oscar statue and we talk about all the shit that's going on in the world with this whole thing, this it was a gay movement that turned directly into a transgender movement, and now we're talking about bestiality and all kind of stuff. So what I'm trying to tell you is don't think that it's too far-fetched. But we're not here to talk about that today. I just wanted to reiterate you have to do your own research. You have to use discernment, wisdom, and the knowledge that you've obtained to be able to see some of these things. Okay, so again, when a man becomes like a woman, and again, what is a female or a male and female? Because the other God, God, in Genesis 1 had already made a man, and I'm still thinking this sounds some transgender, it's some iffy stuff going on in that creation too. Because God made them like him, both male and female. You dig? So once your eyes are open, you're able to see a little bit deeper in the word, and you don't just take what's on the surface and call it what religion would prefer you to do. Okay. So anyhow, I will definitely be going back to this. I'll mark down on my little thing that I want to go back here. But this is not what I brought you here for. Okay. I just saw this part about offspring. So for Mobius, love of offspring is an innate instinction deeply rooted in the organism, and he argues for or urges for the location of the organ of love of offspring. I don't know what this is. Maybe this is the rib. I don't know. So near the organ of sex instincts in the upper part of the occipital bone. Okay. Oh, and there's another thing that I was doing studies. I mean, I have a whole thing laid out, but it's going to take me some time to go through that whole Eunichs thing with you guys. But I also found out that back in the day, they were taking a part of a person's rib and placing it in the genital areas in order to build a somewhat penis. And they only stopped doing this in the 1900s or so. So that was fascinating for me to find out that they were taking ribs from people in order to give them a penis or to fix erectile dysfunction kind of things in antiquities. Okay, so that would be something for you to want to look in. If you don't blame me, because once you go down this rabbit hole, it ain't no turning back. So go ahead and tread lightly. I just like to go all the way in. So again, okay, corresponding to a special part of the brain, the strong development of the organ. Okay, so anyways, indicates love of offspring with civilization according to whatever. Sex differences in men takes on even some female traits. This happens perhaps that there are so many men today with a large organ of love of offspring. Women with heads of the male type are less common. So women with head, female to male are less common. And see, this is why it's so hard for me to detect female to male, but it's very easy to detect the male to female. And I'm talking about by examining deeply, going through people's some of these people that put their life in the public, but we've been given the perception to look at them a certain way. And some of you do worship them as idols or gods today, so you're going to be very upset or want to say mean things to me because I'm bringing this up. But then again, there are some of us that can see, and that won't stop me from being able to see things clearly. So again, just like I can't show you for a fact what is there, you cannot show me for a fact. Well, for some of them, I've seen some things. a very detailed person at looking at things like this. So I've seen things, but maybe you haven't because you haven't even looked at it in that way yet, right? So, okay, let's go to. Okay, I came here because I wanted to see some images, but I don't even think they're going to have any. Um, so let's go ahead and go into what I wanted to look at in the first place. And that is this, okay? So popular fallacies respecting the Indians by Henry. And I don't like saying their whole names because I don't like giving that energy towards some of these people, okay? So since the day when Columbus, let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Hope it helped me out a little bit. So since the day when Columbus miscalled the Aborigines of America. Now, he didn't miscall the Indians of America. He didn't miscall the, again, this is where we're leading back to Aborigine. In the other book that we had from Antiquities, or Tequities, we saw that the Aborigines of America was the ones that they stole the land from. Now, here we're talking that since the day when Columbus miscalled the Aborigines of America Indian. So then, what did that term then come with these people? But it is the closest term to what? Because we are dealing with his story. So in order to go back and dig up this information, we're going to have to maybe use Indian sometimes. But again, Aborigine seems to be where it might be at. Okay, so if they're saying Aborigines and he miscalled them Indians, then again, you have to use your own discernment. I'm so sorry, excuse me. Believing that he had discovered India, popular fallacies respecting them have been numerous and widespread. Some of the more important of them will be discussed here. The origin of the Indians. Okay, as soon as or even before the newly discovered continent was found to be not connected. Okay, let's see. As soon as or even before the newly connected continent was found to be not connected with Asia, theories of the origin of the Indians began to be formulated. So somebody started to form an opinion, okay, by the learned and the consistently with the religious spirit of the age. What age? A solution of the problem was sought in Hebrew tradition. My, what are we speaking of here? In the Indians were recognized the descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Wow. So if the first Bible in America was the American Indian Bible, then who were they enslaving if they were using it to enslave people? Supporters of, okay, let's see, the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. Now, if there's one tribe that might be lost that's trying to find its way, if there was a such thing as this, and if the lost tribes are considering, because I still feel strongly that Israel has something to do with, like we would use Aborigine. Israel is the earliest, and then Israelites maybe came after, okay? After the visual lightening up or whatnot, possibly. But again, I mean, some of this stuff is just that basic. You just have to expand your mind, and then it's just going to come. So, lost tribes of Israel. And that's if I'm even saying there were the tribes of Israel, because you would not have probably originally been the tribes of Israel, possibly, maybe. Okay, that's just what they're calling it. But when we look at this, is there some kind of correlation or some kind of deeper meaning when it comes to this? Meaning that some of these, we won't go there because this is not what we're doing here. The latest and most earnest supporters of the Hebrew origin are the Mormons. Okay, so now I'm wondering if this John Eliot may have been a Mormon. Okay, whose statements are alleged to have the authority of direct revelation. Okay, Absurd as the theory is in the light of present knowledge, what light are we talking about? Who are the light bearers? Um, you know, okay. And remember, God made two great lights, and then you remember that Satan was supposed to be a morning star, and Jesus is well in a sense. Okay, so anthropology owes to its several variable treatises. Okay, on the habits and the characteristics of the Indians. So now that is your name because they've given it to you. So anyway it goes, the term was attached to someone, and it doesn't say Native American, which it could ill afford to lose. Notably, Lord Kingsborough's Mexican Antiquities and the Adar History of the North American Indians, the latter book being filled with fancied similarities to the Jewish customs, rites, and even traditions. Equally absurd, but less widespread, was the myth of a tribe of Welsh Indians, descendants of a colony reputed to have been founded by Prince Madoc. Now, I did read about this now, and it don't sound like a myth to me. Could possibly be, but I'm just saying, this sounds kind of like something that I was reading about, that I looked into a while back. And I think this Madoc was his father's name was God, or that's what the name that they give him, or he's known by. It was some deep stuff. Okay, so the myth located them with their Welsh language in their Welsh Bible first on the Atlantic coast, where they were identified with the Tuscarora, and then girl, let y'all listen, sorry, I don't mean girl. And then further and further west until about, okay, and then further and further west until about 1776. And I told you guys on my channel that I believe that this is when God chose to rest. And I'm not just saying that. You can go back and look at some of the videos. I have a whole timeline type of thing going on, and a theory to that kind of goes with it, okay? And then again, that whole thing from 1776, and then 243 years later. I don't know. So we find the Welsh, okay, or white Indians on the Missouri, where they appear. And then remember I told you about when we're talking about this whole, okay, when we're talking about rivers and things like this, and when we're talking about lakes, and when we're talking about floods and seas and waters, okay, where they appeared as the Mandan, according to Catlin, later on the Red River. And again, we do have a Red River, or a Red Sea, one may call it. Later still, they were identified with the Hopi of Arizona, and finally with the Madoc of Oregon, after which they vanished. Mooney in American Anthropology, I don't know. But that reminds me of a Mooney. I think they used to call that as a derogative term, or moon-eyed people, to some of the tribes. Other seekers of a foreign origin for the American Aborigines have derived them in turn from Greek, Chinese, Japanese, Phoenicians, Irish, Polynesian, and even from the peoples of Australia. Most of these theories are based on the fortuitous, we'll just say that, analogies in habit, institutes, and arts, but the attempt is frequently made to strengthen them by alleged similarities of language being confessedly the principal basis for classifying people. The general similarities of the human mind in similar stages of culture in every part of the world, with its pronensi, wait, proneness, okay, proneness, to produce similar arts, institutions, religious ideas, myths, and even material products, sufficiently explains the former class of facts. While it's the so this is what I mean about cultures all around the world. Like Egypt could have been a form of Egypt here in America as well as there, and then Tartaria could have been, in different places. While it's the hypothesis of identity of language based as they invariably are on a small number of variable similarities and the nature of coincidence, says, are wholly disproved on adequate examination and analysis. Okay. The Indian language are so utterly unlike, I have to go in like 3 minutes. So I'm kind of trying to rush. European speech and the sounds so different in the structure characters that it is not surprising that erroneous concepts concerning them should arise. The unlearned conceived the idea that the speech of all Indians of whatsoever tribes was practically the same, that it was little more than a sort of gibberish. That is contained but a small number of words, that to eke out of the shortcomings the Indian was compelled to use gestures, that it was hardly human speech, much less orderly and well developed language. Okay. Okay. Indians not nomadic. Okay, let's see. Okay, tribes of the Mississippi River. Okay, I have to go. But, I'm kind of enjoying looking into this. It's not going as deep as I wanted it to go, but I'm pretty sure we could find um, Indian ownership of land. The exact nature of Indians' ownership of land appears not to have been understood by the early settlers, and misunderstanding was the fruitful source of trouble and even bloodshed. Neither the individual Indians nor the family possessed vesting rights in land. The land belonged to the tribe as a whole. So it was one big tribe, huh? Individual families and clan might appropriate for their own use and tillage. So there's a man tilling any portion of the tribe's unoccupied domain. Hence, it was impossible for a chief, family, clan, or any section of the tribe legally to sell or give away to aliens. Again, I've used this term and people don't like it, but here it is. To aliens, it's in the Bible too. To aliens, white or red. Okay, so either white ones or red ones. Okay, so even if we say white or black, copper colored, brown, mahogany, dark, like the Egyptians, whatever you want to call it, any part of the tribal domain and the inevitable consequences of illegal sales or gifts was bad feeling, followed often by uh, repudiation of the contract by the tribe as a whole. Attempts by the whites to enforce these supposed legal sales were followed by disorder and bloodshed, after often by prolonged wars. So French and Indian War. And then again, when we're talking about whites, we're not talking about just everyday white people or all whatever. We're talking about the first people. Let's see. The Welsh Indians or the Welsh settlers. Okay? So keep that in mind. And I'll be right back.